60 Minutes Overtime.
This week on 60 Minutes, our story is about the decline of local newspapers, the financial firms buying them and gutting newsrooms, and the effect it's having on American democracy.
So this was the second newsroom that I worked at, and my desk was right about here, and the editor sat up there.
Full disclosure here, as someone who started in newspapers and is a member of the News Guild, I've seen this firsthand. The newspaper industry is struggling. Since 2008, nearly 60% of newsroom jobs have evaporated, and digital growth hasn't replaced many of those positions.
I think the federal government does have a responsibility.
We met Steve Waldman, a former journalist who studied the decline of the local news industry for the Federal Communications Commission. There's one private institution referenced in the Constitution, the press. To what extent does the federal government have a responsibility here?
The reality is that there have been government policies since the beginning of the country to help the news media. The founding fathers actually instituted a postal subsidy to make it really cheap to mail newspapers around the colonies and around the country. And it was actually a huge amount of money. And it helped create the modern newspaper industry.
There's now a question of what happens next, how this industry can be saved. In some major cities, LA, Washington, D.C., billionaires have bought the local Times and Post, while the Tribunes in Texas and Utah operate as nonprofits. Now politicians are introducing their ideas with bills at the federal and state levels.
There is, for instance, a really creative bill that Congress is considering right now that would give tax credits to consumers to buy subscriptions to newspapers that they choose, and to small businesses to advertise in news organizations that they choose. It's empowering local citizens to make the choices that they want to make, but pumping more money into the local news economy.
The bill is called the Local Journalism Sustainability Act and also includes a payroll tax deduction. The Bipartisan Local Journalism Sustainability Act that's being considered, does that go far enough?
It's a huge step, actually. The Local Journalism Sustainability Act would inject a large amount of money into the hands of consumers and advertisers and newspaper publishers to help strengthen the local news system.
A portion of the bill was included in the Build Back Better package that passed the House but stalled out in the Senate. If approved, it would provide nearly $1.7 billion to newspapers, websites, and other local news outlets over the course of 5 years to support reporter salaries. Similar bills have been introduced in New York, New Jersey, and Wisconsin state legislatures by both Democrats and Republicans. What does it do for independence and objectivity if this suddenly becomes a public interest like that?
Government support has to be done really carefully. And if you do it in a way where the tax credit or the benefit is going based on a content-neutral formula, where you basically set up rules ahead of time, and then whoever qualifies gets it, you can do it without news organizations losing their independence. If, on the other hand, you have a pot of money and there's a secretary of local news who's saying, they do really good work, I'm going to give them a grant. I don't like those people, I'm going to not give them a grant. Oh my God, that would be catastrophic.
Another bipartisan bill is the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act. It's antitrust legislation that would push tech companies who have largely swallowed up the advertising market to fairly compensate news outlets. Saving local journalism seems to be one of the few issues that's garnered bipartisan support in this country. Why do you think that is?
Well, when you don't have local reporters and let's say the local government is corrupt, that hurts Republicans as well as Democrats. And if you don't have anyone covering the schools, and if the drinking water isn't clean, that's going to poison you no matter who you voted for. And people realize that these are issues that don't follow normal partisan lines.